Greetings, Kindred. I am Voivode Maquette, and welcome back to our world of darkness and level by level, where we are going to continue on the path of Auspex today, learning the ins and outs of this discipline, specifically focusing on the power Scry the Soul. In the older editions, Scry the Soul was aura perception, or soul read, or whatever else you want to call it from whatever books, but I remember it as aura perception. And since I played in LARP, this was a massively oversimplified discipline. It was seriously you stare at a person for a few seconds, you make a mental test, and you get to ask them a question and have them answer it. In the old Laws of the Night, 2nd edition revised, the questions were as simple as, was the last thing you said a lie? Like, it really was kind of a trap when you used this discipline. It had such a definitive answer that it was almost not worth playing a character that was going to be built on deception, which most vampires are going to be. So it was kind of an interesting way of playing. Now, in tabletop, it was based on an array of colors, saying that specific colors meant specific things. Specific movements of the aura meant specific things. Whether or not they were wavy, dark, light, you could tell if something was a vampire because they had muted colors. You could tell something was a werewolf because they had bright, vibrant colors. You could tell it was a mage or a fae because they were like weird sparks and almost like fireworks mixed in with the aura. It was a very interesting power in the tabletop system. I think a little bit too complicated. Now in V5, I think they found a happy medium to make it so that this discipline is a little bit user-friendly and doesn't break the game as it could in the old LARP system. So the book states, by focusing on a person, the vampire can perceive the state of that person's psyche as a shifting aura of colors. Auras reveal little precise information, but do provide clues regarding many subjects. An example, the emotional state, the resonance, and supernatural traits. If looking for a specific condition, the vampire can cursorily scan the crowd to detect it. Such cursory scans provide no further information. That was actually something that we always wanted to do in the old system also, is try to scan the crowd with aura perception, but with the way that the rules worked in the old system, that wasn't possible. You had to focus your attention on one individual. Now, with this, you can take a broader look at a wide array of people, but you can't look for anything but what you're trying to find. So, in other words, if you're in a crowded nightclub and you're trying to find that resonance that you really, really want, but you can't really detect anything past everything that's going on, you could very well scan the crowd and go, oh, there's my sanguine, or oh, there's my phlegmatic. That way you can actually get a better way of looking around things. That actually reminds me of the heightened senses power that's available in the Blood Hunt video game. When you press X and it lets off a full scan, you can actually tell what the resonance of a person is simply by looking at them by what color it is. So, like I said, I think this is a little bit more user-friendly than it was in the older systems. Now, cost is one rouse check. You do need to rouse the blood to bring that power to your eyes, to be able to see over the array of everything that's going on, and to focus in on the one thing that you're looking for, or to just go ahead and give that glance at a person to check to see what exactly is going on in their aura. The dice pool is intelligence plus Auspex versus the composure plus subterfuge of the subject. So them being able to lie and them being able to keep calm is really going to be what's working to camouflage their emotions from you. This is almost like beating the lie detector test in a way. The system says, make an intelligence plus Auspex versus a composure plus subterfuge roll. On a win, the storyteller truthfully answers a number of questions equal to the margin of the roll about the target's aura and psyche, including the emotional state of the subject, the resonance of the subject's blood, whether the subject is a vampire, werewolf, ghoul, or any other supernatural being, whether the subject is under the influence of blood sorcery or other magic, whether the subject has committed diablerie in the last year. A critical win allows discovery of something unexpected as determined by the storyteller. If scanning a crowd, roll versus the difficulty determined by the size of the crowd and external distractions, as well as the type of trait being sought. Finding the vampire in the living room might only be a difficulty of 3, while finding the most nervous person in a crowded rave is most likely a difficulty of 6 or higher. I love the fact that they have found a way to narrow down the questions a bit. As a storyteller, when I'm rolling a Auspex check, when I'm rolling a Scry the Soul check, and somebody says that they want to find something and they roll the dice, I literally start from the most blatant. So if they're rolling the dice and they get like 3, I would probably start with whether or not the thing is a supernatural subject. So if it's a werewolf, it's a vampire, or something like that, that's going to pop out, in my opinion, more. Then probably the emotional state, the fact that they've committed diablerie within the last year is probably going to be something on there. I really love the fact that the idea of the veins in the aura, the corrupting the corrupting darkness within the soul creeping through is still part of Vampire the Masquerade. That was always one of my favorite parts. Now, that being said, I did have a very interesting read the other day. Somebody who is, I believe, on my Facebook page, on the Our World of Darkness Facebook page, who was talking about Soul Scry and what it could be outside of the typical. Instead of seeing the dark veins, being able to smell it. Like, basically adding Soul Scry with heightened senses. In the case of diablerie, instead of seeing the dark veins in their aura, you could smell the corruption, or you could actually hear the wailing of the souls inside of the Kindred. That was amazing. Now, I think in my games I would most likely stick with the whole you can see the souls thing, but using powers such as premonition that we just covered last time over with Scry the Soul, I might say something where that comes into play, where they can actually hear the souls of the victims from the diableries. That is a lot of fun. The duration for this is 1 turn or at storyteller discretion. I think that I would probably run an entire night. Like, if I decided, oh, I'm going to pick on this character tonight, if I felt that this specific player who has Scry the Soul wasn't getting enough attention, wasn't getting picked on enough, wasn't having enough story dedicated to their character, I would probably run a night where their Soul Scry just could not turn off and they were using it constantly and it was just stuck. Perhaps they drank someone who's perhaps they had drank somebody who had mind-expanding drugs or something like that. But either way, I would make it so that Soul Scry stayed active all night. That would be a very fun one-night play. But yeah, that would just be just a really fun. That would just be a really fun one-night plot line to run people through who weren't getting enough attention, in my opinion. So I have used Aura Perception or Scry the Soul all the time. I played my very first character ever in Vampire the Masquerade was a Toreador, and I loved Auspex. I loved playing with Auspex, and when I got Aura Perception, I used it non-stop because we could just tell if people were lying to us. I also wanted to know if I was walking into a room with a werewolf in it. That was just something that I wanted to know, especially since that kind of thing happened in the game that I played in. That being said, what are the most inventive uses of Scry the Soul that you have used as a player or that you've seen as a storyteller in your V5 games? I'm very interested to know this because Auspex is just one of those powers that just seems like it cries vampire. And I want to know if there's anything out there that I have not thought of yet that I would love to throw at my players in Thicker Than Water. I am Voivode Maquette. This has been our level-by-level look at Scry the Soul. Thank you for joining me. Class dismissed.